Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the new Spyderco Sage 6 button operated compression lock. Not a button lock, a button operated compression lock. Very cool. So let me start this video off by saying this. This was loaned to me by eKnives. I'll link it down in the description. You guys can check out eKnives if you want. The idea was, you know, if it wasn't for me, I was going to send it back. But if I wanted to keep it, I was going to buy it. I am definitely going to keep it. This is a very good knife, and I'm very happy with it. I've kind of, you know, once I found out they were going to release this, I thought this has like all of the little things that are involved with creating a nearly perfect EDC knife. And as I have maintained over the years, the Sage, I think it's the most recent one, was the Sage 5 with the compression lock, is one of the, I mean, it's a very popular knife for sure, but it's up against its American compression lock brothers. It's much more popular. Spyderco Para 3, Manix 2, that's not a compression lock, but PM2 and Para 3 in particular, right? So it often gets overshadowed by those knives. I prefer so many things about the Sage's profile versus the Para 3, and as much as I love my Para 3, it's one of my most carried knives, right? I think the Sage is better, and I loved the idea, that'll be heavily contested in the comments, I love the idea of a button-operated compression lock. Why? Because I just kind of like that additional fidget factor, that sort of pleasant feeling of pressing the button and disengaging the lock. So this was a big sort of anticipation knife for me, and I expected it. The bar was very high, right? Because I thought, this could kick the shark cub out of my pocket. This could end up being like my next major carry knife. This knife right here is the knife that I've been carrying, pretty much like consistently. It kicked the Para 3 out of my pocket. So did it do that? I'm going to share with you guys my experience and what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and whether or not it's better than the Shark Cub by Demco. Thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok. So real quick here, specs. Overall length of the Sage 6, which by the way comes in either S30V or S90V. This one's in S30V. Overall length is 7 inches. Blade length is 3 inches. Cutting edge is 2 3/4 inches. Let's do some size comparisons. Any custom scales in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Others, up against the 8010 and my own Excalibur. This is not a big knife. It's on the smaller side, but still comfortably within the parameters of what I would define as medium. Wow, that was a lot of words to say this is a medium-sized knife. Obviously, it's not going to be nearly as big as some of these. Let's put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. A big one here, but most people know the size difference between the Sage and the Para 3. So it's very, very similar in overall length, and the ergonomic lines are insanely similar. The ergonomics are essentially identical. It's just the blade shape and the overall handle profile, some ergonomic things that are a bit different. Let's go ahead and put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. There you go. And then just because, like, for me personally, it's being directly compared with this guy, we'll put it up against the Demco Shark Cub. I feel like a lot of people might be looking at these two knives and wondering which one's going to be better. You're going to have a lot of people, if you're newer, you're going to have a lot of people going Shark Lock, end of discussion. And I can give you plenty of arguments why that should not be the only thing that you consider. There's far more to consider here, and we will come back to it. Let's go ahead and weigh it. So what are we looking at for materials? Unfortunately, we're looking at Spyderco's laminate, carbon fiber, and G10. Pick one, carbon fiber or G10. Make it G10 and charge us less, or make the whole thing carbon fiber. This is so dumb. I don't know why they do this. It's irritating to me, but truthfully, it doesn't change anything functionally. It's just irritating that it's just a thin layer of, I guess, carbon fiber, and then underneath it is G10. I've never liked the laminate stuff. It has always bothered me. S30V, a lot of people, I'm sure, screaming in the comments, S30V, that's an outdated steel. Why they do? S30V, to this day, is one of the best options for a pocket knife, period. On top of that, because, again, let me point out, S30V is one of only a handful of steels. If you're new, this is true. Only a handful of steels that are actually made for pocket knives, considering the environments that pocket knives are going to be used in on average and how the average person would use a knife. Well, not average, right? The average responsible knife user is going to use a knife. S30V is heavily catered towards the user, right? And on top of that, we have Spyderco's legendary geometry and heat treatment. This S30V is some of the best stuff in the knife, as far as like your a user knife that you're going to use and then sharpen and use. Yeah, S30V. We've got to stop dismissing or wishing S30V away. Personally, I prefer S30V over 20CV for a multitude of reasons. Not obviously 20CV can outclass it in terms of edge retention, but the overall balance of this steel and how Spyderco heat treats it, I would argue that S30V is the superior choice. But you can also get this in S90V, which is a wonderful steel to hold an edge much, much longer. It's not nearly as tough. I think the stainless qualities are similar, and you're going to have a lot harder time sharpening it. You also have to pay about $100 more for that, so I'll leave that up to you guys individually. But S30V, some spit. Steel liners, steel compression lock, steel wire clip, some other steel bits and bobs. And then the laminate carbon fiber in G10. So the weight on this guy, I'm going to guess this is just over 3 ounces. Yeah, 3.3 ounces, and that's pretty good. Pretty good ratios. Balance on the knife is a little bit back from the pivot, but pretty good. At near what I consider to be ultra lightweight, 3 ounces. It's trivial. Like, the balance is good. The weight feels good. It's all great. Hardware check. I'm going to get out my tools. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel, or the pinned comment. So, should you take this knife apart? This knife has the 2 detent balls like the smock. As far as I can tell, and as far as, from reading other people's experiences, this detent ball and the spring can very easily be removed. In fact, so easily that when you take this apart, they might just decide to vacate. You need to be aware of that before you take this apart. I'm serious. There is the itty-bittiest, dumbest little piece of crap little screw underneath here, and it and the detent ball are in there plotting. The moment he takes that scale off, you make a run for it. He's like, you go, I'll find you. We'll find you. We'll find each other later. They are so tiny. You take this off and, whoo, they're gone. So pay attention to that, please. God, the detent ball fell off the desk and rolled onto the floor. Can't believe I found it. Same with the screw. Or not the screw, the spring, right? These can be removed, and the action, a lot of people say the action is improved. So I'm not going to tell you whether you should or shouldn't. That's up to you as the buyer. Like, I'm fine. They're in there right now. This is fine for me. The action has gotten better and better and better, and after I took it apart, put some KPL in there, it's been fine. The other thing is that the closed position stop pin is, for some reason, just a thing that also wants to leave. So you have to pay attention to that. This was irritating to get everything back together, but far from impossible. So just be aware of that. All of this is T8, and while you do have an adjustment head over here, it is it's captive. It's D-shaped, right? So why is there a head? For me, it was just being able to put a bit in here and turn it so that D-shaped pivot barrel lined up, right? It also runs on washers, if you didn't know that. But T8, honestly, easy to get in. Just, there's a bunch of booby traps waiting for you as soon as you open it up. But to be fair, that is kind of the same thing with this guy. This has a spring-loaded, it's got a spring that's ready to be fired across the room, right? So there are irritations with this, but as long as you know what you're in store for, you should be okay. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you're good to go. It did come back together and center up perfectly. So Anyways, let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness on this guy. If I sound irritated, it's because the second, like when I took it apart because I wanted to familiarize myself again with the internals, the second time was very recent. It's still fresh. 117,000, so on the thinner side. Okay, moving on to the meat and potatoes here. This is a wonderful tool. I love this leaf-shaped blade. It reminds me of the Mannix. I think overall the Sage looks better than the Para 3. The tip is going to be more durable. There's just more material there. I love my Para 3. It's made in the USA. This guy is made in Taichung, Taiwan. This is difficult for some people to hear, but as a reviewer who has handled countless Spydercos from the USA part of it, from the Taichung, Taiwan part of it, from the Seki City, Japan part of it, the Maniago, Italy, right? That's where the Italian ones are made. And then the Chinese stuff. The Taichung, Taiwan stuff is far and away the most consistent in terms of quality control. Like, the execution on the Taichung, Taiwan stuff is just better. Sorry. If you're a fan of the Golden, Colorado stuff, I am too. But you're kidding yourself if you think that it's superior in terms of build quality, just like fit and finish. You're kidding yourself. The Taichung Taiwan stuff is better. It just is. But yeah, Taichung Taiwan on this guy, and that's not China, so manufacturing costs are still fairly high. Not as high as the USA stuff, but still fairly high. Anyways, I think that this knife, personally, I think it looks better as far as Spyderco knives go. I think it's got a better aesthetic. Ergonomics, just, it's so good. This is that Spyderco ergonomic perfection. It's so nice. The thumb ramp and the choil right here, the lock-in is so good. And you know, if you're needing to do a hammer grip to break down heavy cardboard or heavy material, it's so good. This is such a wonderful tool. The button to operate the compression lock, which is not a plunge lock and it's not a liner lock. It's a compression lock. So you can see here the steel tab slides behind a lock face instead of underneath it. This is superior strength, right? It's far more strength than you would typically need from a pocket knife, which is part of the reason why I say the people who say shark lock, end of discussion, it's the shark lock is, these both exist in a, this is a trivial amount of additional strength space, right? You don't need, like, the strength of the compression lock is far more than the average person needs. And honestly, if you need more strength from your lock than that, you need a fixed blade. Because the implication there is that you're doing something you shouldn't be doing with a pocket knife. All standard pocket knife tasks and even some accidental or unnecessary pressure on the spine of the blade will not result in disengagement, right? If you're like, but Metal Complex, I like to take my knife and pound rocks into smaller rocks. Okay, you definitely don't need a pocket knife, right? But that's not the fault of the lock. If the lock can't stand up to that's not the fault of the lock. That's your fault as the cave person smashing a rock with a pocket knife or the equivalent. I'm being sarcastic. The shark lock might stand up to that, but you don't need your lock to do that. That's insane, right? The tests required to prove that the shark lock is superior in terms of strength are also tests that would involve using a knife in a way that is not proper, right? Yeah, the shark lock is probably superior in terms of strength. I don't really care so much about that. I care about the manipulation of the lock and the placement of it. So the shark lock, if you're choking up, does create maybe a little tiny bit of a hot spot. Not much. It's pretty easy to manipulate, but it does put a lot of like spiky, pokey pressure on your finger. Let's talk about placement of the compression lock on the Para 3 versus the Sage 6. The compression lock back here, this needs to be taken apart and cleaned. This knife is so dirty. Back here, pretty easy to manipulate. You do have to position yourself into sort of a pinch grip, right? It's pretty easy, but at the same time, not quite as confident as using my thumb to just disengage that. Or if you're left-handed, using your index finger, I think you got a more secure grip on it. I have dropped my Para 3 many, many times just because of the position there. However, this has zero chance of disengaging due to grip because of where your hands are. As a right-handed person, you have zero chance of disengaging your knife. You're going to be very aware of where your fingers are, and the natural landing zones are not on top of that button. As a left-handed person, you're right on top of that button. I'm going to squeeze it as hard as I can, see if I can disengage it. I can't. I cannot do it. It takes too much travel. It's very unlikely. You will have to grip the knife and deliberately place this finger, which pushes your entire hand up into an uncomfortable zone. If your hands are in the right spots, you are not going to disengage this knife. I don't think it's necessarily better or worse. It's just on the side. Does the button cause any ergonomic discomfort? No, it does not. I actually really like the button, right? So it's going to come down to preference. But no, I don't think you're ever going to accidentally disengage it, right? So, which one's more fidgety? I don't know. I mean, I know people are going to want to know, right? I mean, it's preference. They both are fun. This one's a little more clickety-clackety, and this one's a little more push the button, right? I don't know how else to describe that. They're both great. They're both incredibly easy to manipulate. I think that the Sage is slightly easier to manipulate due to the height of this blade hump and the amount of room in the hole there, right? This is easy. It's plenty easy. This one feels a little bit more natural. This has got that Spyderco melty goodness. You know, it's so easy. It's just, it feels like this was such a made for the human hand object, even more so than something like this, right? This just feels very rounded out, very sculpted, very perfected. It's very, very friendly. It's got that Spyderco essence, right? So Spyderco S30V has the big Spyderco logo on it. Then we have the Sal Glesser mark right there, and then it says Taichung, Taiwan. So cutting geometry, wonderful. Good tip, good even bevel, right? No sharpening choil. People have different feelings about this area back here. Whatever. I mean, honestly, for me, I'm gonna use it if I have to sharpen it. That area might get a little ugly. I personally don't care about that. Some people do. You can make that call for yourself. The texture here, this sort of peel ply texture, it's nice. It does offer meaningful traction. This is not a knife that I feel like I'm going to drop. This is a knife that is, I don't know if there's anything that could be improved ergonomically on this knife. I think it essentially has perfect ergonomics. You could say contoured scales, sure. Yeah, but Spyderco is going to charge us an arm and a leg if we request contouring, right? Fit and finish on this guy, just perfect. It's just fantastic. The nice large fasteners, everything fits back together just fine, assuming that you can keep it all in one place and not have it running off, trying to escape your desk, right? Positions for left and right-handed. The pocket clip has right and left-handed mounting positions. It's just a wire clip. I don't love these, like how they look, but they function just fine. You have a couple of standoffs back here, and then there's a lanyard barrel for people who just absolutely have to attach lanyards to their knives. We didn't really like cover the action, but so this broke in a bit. It started off like slightly tight, and it's still, when I push the button, it doesn't want to drop. So I've just gotten used to doing this. Over time, I think it will. Those washers are going to keep, self-lubricate. You can get in there. You can add some KPL. You could also, if you want to, this is something you have to decide you want to do as the owner, the end user. You can remove that spring and that little detent ball, and the action, I guess, improves. I don't know if this causes functional issues down the road. I would venture to guess that most people in my comments will say it won't, and it also would not surprise me. I'm not really even sure why it's there, but there's a part of my brain that goes, leave it alone. It's made that way, just leave it. But it might not be completely and totally necessary. I just don't want to sit here and advise people to remove it just to improve the action a little bit. The action, honestly, after I put some KPL in there, is just fine. And even out of the box, it was fine. I've just gotten used to doing this. This is effortless, right? And it does feel very smooth. The other thing, for people saying why not bearings, because this guy has bearings. This knife, because of the washers, will keep dirt and debris out of the pivot. So if you're somebody who does not, if you're just like a casual person and you're just carrying your knife and using it for typical stuff and you're not getting your tools dirty, use bearings or whatever you prefer, right? Whatever action you prefer. If you are in a consistently dirty, dusty, grimy environment, washers, period. Those environments absolutely will gunk up and slow down your bearings. In some cases, it will lock them up completely, right? So this does have an advantage in that environment, right? I mean, great, you have, excessive lock strength. It doesn't really help you much if your knife, it gets so gunked up that it's not, wanting to completely and totally lock out. A lot of people are going to be quick to say that's a pretty extreme scenario, unlikely. And I would agree with you. I think it's really going to come down to preference, but this is a set it and forget it kind of thing. Once you have this thing dialed in and you've got the action you want with or without that second detent ball, if you decide to go ahead and Loctite that pivot, you're just good to go. The thing at that point, just you can wash it out with soap and water, hot soap and water with everything still assembled. You can blow it out with compressed air, and then you can just add a little bit of oil. And you're good to go. This is a truly superior cutting tool. Absolutely. I truly believe, when I say this, I think the Sage series in general, the Sage 5 with the compression lock and the Sage 6 with the button-operated compression lock, which is not superior, it just kind of is right beside it as an option. Right? This is one of the very best pocket knives on planet Earth. Absolutely. And as far as knives that are used as knives, not, a fixed blade that has incredible tip geometry and you can't break it. I'm talking about convenient, compact, lightweight cutting tools that will serve the average person extremely well and not inconvenience them, right? Carrying around an indestructible fixed blade, for people who are inevitably going to make that argument, and waiting for an opportunity to test that is essentially just a massive inconvenience 99.9999999999999% of the time. You're just inconvenienced yourself. You're carrying around this big, bulky thing. This is nothing but convenience and may not be able to stand up to incredibly aggressive tasks that would require a different tool, but it'll stand up to literally everything else that a knife is meant for. So lightweight, compact, good balance, good materials, right? Irritating with the combination of carbon fiber and G10. Also pretty basic construction, but construction that does result in extreme convenience for the end user. What do they want for it? They want $210. Unfortunately, this has just become Spyderco. Realistically, there's going to be people who say that's a $40 knife. It's definitely not a $40 knife. S30V is not cheap. They also, grind this correctly. The geometry is great, and the heat treat is great, and that all costs money. Manufactured in Taiwan, despite the fact that these are basic materials, the tolerances are very, very good, and quality control costs money, right? Personally, I think this knife probably should have been about $165. Am I willing to go ahead and pay $210 for it? Yep, Spyderco knows that people like me will do that. This is an absolutely wonderful cutting tool. I think it is one of the very best EDC options available. I'm irritated that Spyderco can just charge more for it and that people will go ahead and buy it, but that's unfortunately the way that it is. That being said, is it a recommendable knife? Yes, it absolutely is. There are things that could make this knife better. It's not a perfect knife, but it's about as close as it gets. Will it kick the Shark Cub out of my pocket? It's newer, so it's still like fresh. I don't know which one of these is going to end up being like the knife. I think I'll just go back and forth on them. I think they're both great. I do prefer the cutting geometry of this blade to this one, right? These three are so good. And honestly, like I'm still gonna put the 80 20.5 in here. It's a little bigger, right? But these four knives have really just absolutely blown me away. You can't go wrong with any of them. Right now, I'm really enjoying the Sage 6. It's really, really awesome. I think anybody who buys it is going to absolutely love it. You'll love the different elements of it more or less, and the whole detent ball and little micro spring thing. You'll have to kind of work that out for yourself as far as what you want to do with it. I prefer to just leave it alone. that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to leave it alone. It's together. It's everything that I need it to be. But yeah, this is going to be in my pocket. Extremely recommendable knife. I'm also going to put it in my favorite knives of all time playlist, which is not something that I do a lot these days, putting it in both recommended and favorite knives of all time, because it absolutely is. It's a wonderful design. And this is in my top like best of 2025 so far. As far as I know, this did release officially in 2025, and this is absolutely on the list. I love this knife. It's not doing anything different than Spyderco's from, 10, 15 years ago, but that's just a testament like to how good these things are. Like, this system is just so good. It might be boring. It might, a lot of people might say that Spyderco knives are ugly, but they are absolutely some of the best cutting tools on the planet. So, very good. Thank you so much to eKnives. Like I said, I am paying full price for this. They're not cutting me any deals. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.